Good afternoon. Welcome back to the Celluloid History Life is a Mystery channel. My name is Dan Rowlands, and as always, a special welcome to fans of the Kildares, Rebecca Fishpond, Open Up, and last but not least, Emergency Exit. Yeah, very warm welcome back to the channel. Yes, I seem to be making these videos later in the day as the days pass, but anyway, we're here now. The stylist has been doing a good job earlier on, and the more observant among you, those that aren't asleep at the back, etc., will notice the stylist has done a good job with the hair today. Yeah, so no jokes about fights with lawnmowers, etc., etc. Yeah, keep the paper aeroplanes to a minimum. Lots of stuff to discuss today. I'll try and keep it to normal sort of 30 minutes or so, thereabouts, because I've noticed that these videos have been getting slightly longer as time passes. No harm in that, you might say. However, as I was explaining, I think it was in yesterday's bulletin, with a view to attracting the attention of the CEO of Coca-Cola, the global Coca-Cola corporation, wanting to place their Christmas advert in the midst of a Celluloid History Life is a Mystery bulletin. I am endeavouring to keep the show to a sort of standard format, which lends itself to the commercial world. It's a jungle out there, as Axl Rose has reliably informed us. Yes. It's a strange old world, isn't it? And yes, as I say, very, very warm welcome to Celluloid History Life is a Mystery, the channel that takes you deeper, and as I say, the cutting edge channel on UK current affairs and politics. Yes, it's just as well that this is the type of channel that will take into consideration things like human beings. What are they? Just a bunch of cells? Sentient creatures on two legs? What are they? Why are their skins of a different colour, etc., etc.? These are the deep questions, aren't they? Is infinity the same thing as a speck of a microsecond? These are the types of things that are going to be contemplated on the channel going forwards. So let's hope that this is the sort of material that the Coca-Cola Corporation wants to be associated with in its Christmas advertising campaign. We can but hope. But yeah, I mean, a strange thing happened to me today while I was on the way to get my hair, basically what it is, the stylist and I had to go and borrow a salon, so basically I was walking down the street about 150 yards away from my house to meet the stylist at this salon, and all of a sudden this someone sort of, I was vaguely aware that someone was following me, but then all of a sudden I felt a sort of the sensation of someone invading my personal space from the right hand side, and then I heard this voice saying, it became apparent that there was a sort of young man following me with a smartphone, and then he said, as he walked past me, he said, do you want to be in my video because you're effing annoying me? And then he sort of swanned off ahead of me. And yeah, it was quite unpleasant, really. It was sort of a verbal attack in the street. So yeah, it wasn't very pleasant, really. But true to my some of the deep issues I've been discussing in the past few days. The guy, like, say if it had been worse and it had been a mugging or something, and I had to make a description to the police. The guy was of, I would say, Pakistani origin, Pakistani descent. His English was pretty good, so he was obviously either bilingual or his first language was English. He was about maybe 5'10", maybe about late 20s, early 30s, dressed in dark clothing. I think he had a green jacket on, and yeah, it was quite unpleasant, really. I mean, as he walked past, I sort of said, "What do you mean, what video?" and something, and then he got on the defensive then, saying, "What do you mean?" and tried to play innocent, say, "I didn't say anything, mate," or something like that. So I think maybe he was hoping he was going to be, picking on someone that wasn't going to talk back or something. I don't know, but it was quite an unpleasant altercation, But then he sort of strode off towards Aldi, as you do, to see what the Aldi savings are at the moment. But anyway, yeah, just that was a strange thing. So I don't know whether these deep theological and anthropological questions that I've been contemplating, me and the production team have been working on, have they, is the, God moves in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform, but that's why I sort of, opened, that's why I said near the beginning of the bulletin today, humans, just a bunch of sentient cells of various different colours, when humans bleed, the colour of the blood's all the same, regardless of what the skin colour is, etc., etc., But anyway, yeah, I've been watching the Daily Politics with Vicky Young as a sort of, as a BBC license fee monitoring, fearing license fee payer. So yeah, it was all right. I'll tell you who the guests were. The guests were Chris Curtis, MP from Labour, the young Labour MP. Well, I say young. That's a problem with middle age. Everyone seems younger than yourself. Yeah, Chris Curtis, MP for Labour. A lady called Faiza Shaheen, who is the director of Tax Justice UK. I meant to look up actually whether that's the same lady that got removed from the Labour Party by Starmer. I'll have to double check that on Google. And then there was the third guest on the sofa today was a chap called Andy Peston, who apparently is a former mayor of Middlesbrough. He didn't give away what his personal political opinions are, but he, judging from this sort of line of arguments, I think he was right of centre, but he didn't specify whether he was a Tory or a Reform voter, to be honest. Yeah, one of the first topics was apparently this one-in, one-out deal that Starmer's implemented to tackle the boats. The media's obsessed with it, aren't they? The boats. Apparently, someone got sent back to, was it Paris, France? Anyway, and came back on a dinghy about a month later. So that didn't go well, did it? So yeah, I mean, they had a good discussion in the studio about that, media hobby horse. Chris Curtis, as you may imagine, was in the role of defending the government's record. Faiza Shaheen did quite a good job of critiquing the government, actually. and I forget the specifics of what Andy Peston had on that subject, really. But Faiza Shahid made some pretty good points about how Labour are sort of spreading themselves too thin. Essentially, was the sort of crux of her argument. You know, they're trying to appease reform voters by sort of trying to appear strong on the boats. You know, the strong on stop the boats, and so that, you know, they're using the terminology that appeals to reform voters regarding immigration and stuff like that, you know. But they're also, according to Faiza Shaheen, that they're also, you know, trying to cling on to their traditional. I think that it was described as middle class. I guess it is really, isn't it? Middle class demographic of sort of. Broadly speaking, you know, could you say globalist, altruistic, egalitarian values, you know, not wanting to alienate them, you know. So she's saying that they're ending up not pleasing anybody, you know, and her view was it doesn't matter how much they try and. Well, the phrase is getting trotted out, isn't it, a lot in the media, of out-reforming reform, you know, which essentially means, to my mind, in layman's terms, trying to be more right-wing than reform, you know. As I've made the point in previous videos, it's not current politics at the moment, the axis of it largely being identity, as I was talking about quite a lot yesterday. It's kind of too simplistic to just talk about left and right these days. I suppose in some ways 'twas ever thus, I guess, but certainly these days it's becoming, you know, certainly notions of traditional socialism, notions of traditional conservative policies are sort of up in the air at the moment, really, with this kind of new vogue for identity politics. But yes. I was saying, yeah, there's the idea of trying to out-reform reform. I was just making the point, yeah, generally it sort of means, you know, right-wing stuff, you know, basic traditional right-wing stuff, you know, sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, as I say, I mean, I think I mentioned it yesterday. Starmer's commonly getting accused of, you know, nobody knowing what does he stand for, you know. I think I made the point yesterday that a lady called Polly Billington was representing the government yesterday, and one or two things that she said almost gave the game away. That the Labour, you know, what do they stand for other than gaining power and staying in power, you know. And of course another point I made was that that is, to be fair, that is the game of politics, isn't it? You know. Anyway, let me just have a look at the make sure you keep paying attention. Tea time will come in due course, you know. And actually, it might already be tea time, in which case I hope you enjoy your tea. But yeah, happy Thursday night to everybody. And as I say, if you must make paper aeroplanes, at the very least, please make sure they're good quality ones, you know, reusable ones. It's not really conducive to learning, but there we go. But let's have a look at some of these other issues here. Yeah, the subject of university tuition fees came up, and as yeah, I'm aware we've just gone past 14 minutes, so we're about halfway through this show, you know. Yes, university tuition fees, yes, and as people may well be aware, the promotion of the idea of 50% of young people going to university has recently been officially reduced to 40%, hasn't it? And the idea of increasing apprenticeships is becoming more talked about, isn't it? Less stress on trying to get everybody to university. Now, there was quite an interesting chat about universities, and they even had a representative for the university. That's what industry, and it says it all really. That it's an industry. A lady called Vivienne Stern, chief executive of the UK universities, was in the studio towards the end of the show, and yeah, the chap who used to be the mayor of Middlesbrough, Andy Peston, made the oft touted point currently that you know, the system's been watered down. There's only so many people that can have a sort of what you might call an elite university education. It's a myth to suggest that thousands upon thousands of young people can you know, classify themselves as elite, high flying academics. He was making those, you know, those sort of arguments, and that he was saying that under the current university system, everyone's a loser because a lot of students are leaving university in massive debt. You hear that argument bandied around an awful lot, don't you? And not only that, the university, it's quite sad calling it an industry, but we might as well call a spade a spade. You know, the university business, if you like. The only people benefiting from that are the ones benefiting from that are the ones at the very top. The point was made, you know, the chancellors and, you know, the people who are on sort of six-figure sums. You know, I think the figure was quoted like sort of 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 a year. You know, people at the top of the university system, they might be benefiting from it, but not many other people are. You know, people who work in I don't know, maintenance of universities, lecturers, tutors, and the students themselves, they're not benefiting particularly financially from it. So, but interestingly, the lady that's represented the university business, the revealing term that is, you know, the university business, Vivienne Stern, was making the point that, well, I mean, make of it what you will. She made the point that there are certain definite benefits of going to university, which include, you know, improving the health of young people, improving their employment prospects generally, i.e., they may not go into top jobs, she was basically saying, but they're more likely to be in a job after going to university. And improving the lifespan. You know, people who've been to university live longer, she claimed. And I mean, in some ways, I suppose it could be argued that that's the sort of that's basically admitting that the university system has been watered down, isn't it? In a sense, because traditionally, the British university system was meant to be more than just about you know, having a good diet, having good exercise, living longer, and being able to get any job. You know, traditionally it was more about sort of becoming a specialist academic in whatever area, wasn't it? Really, I mean, it's not. I mean, it's almost like an admission of from Vivienne Stern. I mean, I take her point. I mean, you know, you could take the view of there's no harm in a shift of attitude towards what higher education ought to be or what universities ought to represent, but it's almost an admission of sort of watering down. And what I was going to say was the old, you know, post-war view of going to university, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Things starting to get a bit watered down in the 90s, were they? I was at uni in the 90s, but of course, so I had a very high class degree from Manchester Metropolitan. Bit of a plug there. There you go. bank details. You know, you can do a bank transfer, Manchester Metropolitan, or you can send me. I think I can still put a check in my bank as well. You know. Anyway, yeah, the idea that they ought. Sorry, I'm sorry about doing me a bit of a Ronnie Corbett there, but yeah, that the idea going back to the sort of 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s model of British universities would be that they should be far more than just, you know, a healthy environment for young people to hang about in. You know, that should, you know, the model was they should be more than that. You know, I mean, you've still got this kind of. I mean, another point that Vivian Stern made actually was that British universities are still regarded as some of the best in the world, you know, and something that the UK can still be proud of. And on that subject, I was just going to make the point that that sort of elitism is still in situ, as far as I can gather. You know, by that, I mean you've got Cambridge, Oxford, and all that. You know, it's still seen as, if you get a first-class degree from Cambridge, you kind of looks good on your CV, doesn't it? Let's say, or if you get a first-class degree from Oxford, it's a good start in life, kind of thing, you know. So yeah, that's the university system. Interesting. So I mean, there, you know, on a more practical level, the point was made that university tuition fees are going to increase in line with inflation, apparently. But yeah, suffice to say that the university system is under a lot of scrutiny, isn't it, for not really making much of, not really being of much benefit to the UK economy at the moment. And this guy Andy Preston was basically saying, he described it as being a con, you know, that people are sort of being promised that going to university can sort of mean X, Y, and Z for your future, when in actual fact the only people benefiting are, like I say, the few elite people at the top, chancellors that are on six-figure salaries, you know. So that was quite interesting. And what else did they talk about on the show today? There's universities. Yeah, I mean, this the thing about the boats is just rolling on, isn't it? Energy bills came up again. Apparently, Ed Miliband has promised to reduce energy bills by £300 a year. There was a bit of a discussion about that. Miliband's argument is overall argument I've sort of learned of late is that going green, you know, this sort of push towards green energy, solar energy, wind farms, and etc. I know it's quite a complex issue, this, to just run over in a couple of minutes, but ultimately Miliband's idea is that going green, fully green, will eventually cut bills. That's the dream, isn't it? You know, but he's under pressure from the right to sort of stop living in cloud cuckoo land and to sort of make more immediate steps to cut bills, which the right are saying is perfectly possible, but he's dilly-dallying, you know, by being stubborn about the future being green, if you like. That's a bit of a simplistic summary of the situation, but I have to say I was quite impressed with, I mean, he's an ex-leader of the Labour Party, of course, isn't he? And I was quite impressed with the way he handled the mighty Victoria Derbyshire from BBC the other Sunday, who was covering for Laura Kuenssberg, who must have been on holiday in Blackpool or Skegness or somewhere, you know. Yeah, I thought Miliband came across as quite well, actually. But then, after all, I suppose you don't become leader of the Labour Party for nothing. I mean, I have heard rumours that he's not really a very effective leader actually. But as I say, he did all right on that show. I thought. I think he comes quite across on comes across quite well on television, and perhaps it's face to face that he's not so impressive as a leader. I believe he's a very small in stature fella, but you know, hey, so was Prince, wasn't he? You know, mind you, he wasn't a politician, was he? He's good at doing the splits on stage and playing the guitar and singing, though, wasn't he? Really, but that's probably something for another video, of course. But yeah, Ed Miliband, he came across quite well, I thought. You know. I'm pretty sure I voted for him while he was leader of the Labour Party. I think I've voted Labour. I've been a lifelong Labour voter. I think there might have been one local election where I voted Green once, but I think that was an exception. Yeah, that was a one-off. I can't exactly remember why either now, but yes. So the energy bills. Yeah, I was just going to make the point that. Going back to the hobby horse of immigration, Faiza Shaheen, Director of Tax Justice UK, she had some quite valid things to say about the immigration issues. She was saying that the amount of so-called illegal immigration, the numbers involved in so-called illegal immigration are actually relatively small compared to overall immigration. She also made the point that the numbers of immigrants into the UK generally are quite small compared to the numbers that other countries, often poorer than the UK, are taking in, you know, which is a fair enough point, I thought. And, you know, perhaps most pertinent and deep of all of the points she made, in a sense, to be fair to the lady, was the whole reason why there's immigration is a big thing in the first place at the moment is because a lot, you know, people are fleeing from war-torn countries and areas of political trouble and strife, aren't they? That's not the only reason why people might want to come to the UK, of course. I mean, but that's certainly a big reason, isn't it? And what happens is you get the argument the issue that's connected to that fact is the fact that, you know, we're, as the UK as an ally of powerful nations such as the US, etc., is sort of party to this unrest that goes on in other countries of the world, often countries with economies far poorer than ours. You know, I mean, the UK is not as a strong economy as it once was, but we're still top 10, aren't we? I think it's still 6th or 7th or something like that. Forgive me if I've got my facts wrong there. But the point being that we in the UK, I suppose it's generally used as a point from the left, isn't it? Generally, or a point from globalists, you might say. I was talking about cosmopolitan globalists, wasn't I, yesterday, versus communitarian nationalists. Yeah, the point being that we can't really moan about people wanting to come here for a safe and better life when we're party to the reason why they're fleeing countries in the first place, you know. But I mean, personally, my take on that is, I'm aware we're approaching the half-an-hour mark, so I'll start to wrap it up now. But my take on that is that we have to live in the real world, don't we? You know, I mean, I've made points in previous things I've written on social media and videos I've posted on social media. I believe that our conscience are in the UK around this, and our sense of guilt, if you like, is directly related to the fact that the UK once was a very powerful nation globally, but it's now that sense of well, you might say military and economic power has now been replaced by Sometimes they call stuff like strong education systems and that, they call it soft power, which we've still got to a measure, to an extent. But anyway, the point I was going to make was that the sort of guilt and conscience the UK has around global issues is kind of the reverse coin of the sort of literal power that the UK used to hold. So in other words, the Greta Thunberg fans of the world, God bless her. I think she's a courageous young lady myself, but it's all very well for sort of thinking that the UK can. We might not be a military and economic power anymore, but we owe it to the globe to sort of be, spearheading altruism and globalism and green issues and issues of promoting peace, etc., etc., etc. Now, as I made a point I've made on social media is that that's all very well if you're, my three of my grandparents were teachers. I think my paternal grandmother was the wife and housewife. Her husband was a. Oh no, sorry, no. I'm tell a lie. Two of my grandparents were teachers. My paternal grandfather, that was my maternal grandparents. My paternal grandparents, one of them was a solicitor and town clerk, and his wife, I think, was just his. There wasn't like that in them days, was it? His wife was married to a town clerk solicitor, So I've got a middle class background, but the point, my parents were middle class, at least, But the point I was making was that it might be okay, these ideas of saving the world, the UK saving the world, if you're from a middle class UK background, but if you're living on the poverty line in Hackney or Bolton, scraping a living together, and your grandmother's just had a leg amputated because she's diabetic and she's the sort of leader of the matriarch of the family. Those sort of considerations might seem less. They might occupy less of your headspace, mightn't they? Under those circumstances, and my belief is that those people need a voice, don't they? That people living on the breadline in Bolton and Hackney need a voice, as well as somebody whose maybe grandfather was a World War II pilot or something like that. I think my grandfather, he was in the RAF, my maternal grandfather, but he was I don't think he was actually a pilot. I think he was. He worked something to do with the development of radar, but I think he was. But his normal job, day job, was an English teacher, I believe. I think he became a deputy head of a state school as an English teacher, I think. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up because we've gone past the half-hour mark. So I wish everybody well. I wish everybody a good Thursday evening. Me and the production team and the stylist are doing we're doing a 4-day week at the moment, which might be a good idea going forwards for any social democratic government, I would suggest, with the rise of the robots, etc. But I wish everybody well. I wish everybody a good Friday. To coin the phrase, I wish everybody a good weekend. Don't forget the world's biggest footballing juggernaut are entertaining Brighton on Saturday, so enjoy that, everybody. It'll be quite a spectacle. The UK's second favourite sport after fishing. So yeah, enjoy your sports, enjoy your fishing, enjoy your football, enjoy your politics, enjoy your cyberspace goings on, enjoy your internet shenanigans. Look after yourselves, and always remember. I hope I'll sign off. I hope that the little incident that I mentioned at the start, I hope I handled it okay. What was that song that Kurt Cobain, that lyric that Kurt Cobain came up with? Here we are now, entertain us, wasn't it? No, not that one, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not after you. That was the one, wasn't it? But it may not have been Mr. Cobain that came up with that, actually, but it's quite a well-known phrase, that one, isn't it? Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not after you. And of course, the late great Ozzy Osbourne had something to say about that subject, didn't he? Paranoia, God bless him, may rest in peace. But anyway, yeah, and as always, when you're making these pertinent political points, getting myself in tongue twisters here, aren't I? When you're making these pertinent political points on UK politics and culture, it always pays to slow down the pace of your words that you're saying towards the end to give them more emphasis. Wishing everyone a good night. We'll be back on Monday, and have a good night. Good night, everyone.
Don't give me no back talk, sucker. Quit your jibber jabber. Quit your jibber jabber.